अज्ञानाञ्जलशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपं मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवं च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम्
कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं
साद्वैतं सावधूतं
Sadhutam
नित्यं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री
Shri
राधा
Radha
कृष्ण
Krishna
पादान्
Pada
सगन ललिता
Sahagana
श्री
Lalita
विशाखान्वितां च
Vishakha
हे कृष्ण
He
करुणा
Krishna
सिंधु
Karuna Sindhu
दीनबंधो
Bandhu
जगत्पते
Jagatpate
गोपेश
Gopesha
गोपिका
Gopika
कांत राधा
Radha
नमोस्तुते तप्त
Namaste
कांचन गौरंगी राधे
Taptakanchana Gaurani
वृंदावनेश्वरी
Radhe
वृषभनुसुते
Vrindavaneshwari
देवी
Vasute Devi
प्रणमामि हरि
Pranamami
प्रिय
Hari Priye
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा
Sindhu
सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो
Vaishnave
नमः।
Namo Namah Hare
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य
Krishna
प्रभु
Chaitanya
नित्यानंद
Prabhu
श्री
Nityananda
अद्वैत
Shri
गदाधर
Advaita
श्रीवासादि
Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur
गौरभक्तवृंद।
Bhakta Vrinda
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna
कृष्णा
Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna
कृष्णा
Krishna
हरे
Krishna Hare
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
राम
Rama
राम राम
Rama
राम
Rama
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna
कृष्ण
Krishna
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
राम
Rama Hare
राम
Rama Rama
राम हरे हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna
कृष्ण
Krishna Krishna
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
राम
Rama Hare
राम राम
Rama
राम हरे
Rama Hare
हरे।
Hare
Okay. Okay, let's recite these verses quickly all together. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Narayanam namaskrityam
Namaskrityam
naram chaiva
Narottam
narottamam devim
Devi
saraswatin
Saraswati
vyasam
Vyasam
tato
Tato
jayam
Jayo
udikayet
Udiyate
nashtaprayeshu
Nityaprayeshu
abhadreshu
Bhadreshu Nityam
nityam
Bhagavatam
bhagavata sevaya
Sevaya
भगवती
Bhakti
उत्तम श्लोके
Shloke Bhakti
भक्तिर्भवति
Bhavati
नैष्ठिकी
Nashtati
कृष्णाय
Naya
वासुदेवाय
Vasudevaya
देवकी
Devaki
Devaki
नन्दनाय च
Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya
नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय
Govindaya
नमो
Namo
नमः।
Nama
ॐ
Om
नमो
Namo
भगवते
Bhagavate
वासुदेवाय।
Vasudevaya
ॐ नमो
Om Namo
भगवते
Bhagavate
वासुदेवाय।
Vasudevaya
ॐ नमो
Om
भगवते
Namo Bhagavate
वासुदेवाय।
Vasudevaya
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So we are in the fourth chapter. We'll be doing from verse number 11 onwards today. So, but quickly, let's see what is this fourth chapter talking about. So, it is about the appearance of who's appearing in this chapter?
Narad Muni.
Narad
Narad Muni. Very good. All right. So, there are around 33 verses in this chapter. So, the first up to 14th verse, I mean, if you see the first three chapters are related to the 6 questions of the sages, right? To Suta Goswami. So those 6 questions are now answered. Now there is another three questions is going to be asked by Saunaka Rishi. So that's up to 14th verse. So Saunaka Rishi asks us further 3 questions. And then what are those three questions? And the rest of this canto is answering those three questions. And the leading, so the what are the pastimes leading to these questions are also in that process we cover. So who is this Saunaka Rishi? So Saunaka Rishi is the leader of this assembly. It is said around 88,000 people, sages actually, were assembled at Naimisharanya. So this person, Saunaka Rishi, was a great learned elderly sage. Actually, he comes from the Brigu lineage. You heard of Brigu Muni? So he comes from that lineage, and then all the sages respect him, and he is equivalent. You know, like he was actually running a kind of a Gurukula where around more than 10,000 sages used to be there. So in today's parlance, we can say he is something like a chancellor of an university. He's running a university, and he is something like a chancellor of that university. So he is the leader of this group. And he is asking three questions. Now, first question he is asking about the history. Before he asks the question, they talk about this. What is the quality of Saunaka Rishi? That's the verse 1. So it talks about he is the elderly person and he is the Kulapati. Kulapati means he is the head of the assembly and he is a very learned person. So what he says is, he is congratulating the speaker. So who is the speaker here? Suta Goswami. So he is congratulating Suta Goswami. He said, you in the verse 2, he says, you are the most fortunate person. So you are the best of all the speakers. And so he says, they are asking, please narrate the Srimad Bhagavatam with Parikshit Maharaj as given to, so Srimad Bhagavatam with the Sukadeva Goswami as given to Parikshit Maharaj. So that's the verse number 2. So Saunaka Rishi praises Sukadeva Goswami and asks him to speak about the Bhagavatam which Sukadeva Goswami spoke to Parikshit. So this main question, when he is asking about him to speak about Bhagavatam, first we have to know the background. What is this Bhagavatam? So the verse 3 it talks about is questioning him. Now, please he is questioning the history of Bhagavatam. So he is asking, in which yuga this Bhagavatam is written? At which place is this Bhagavatam, is compiled? And for what reason is this Bhagavatam compiled? Right? And under whose inspiration did Vyasadev written this Bhagavatam? They all know that Vyasadev has written, but under whose inspiration this was written, when it was written, in which yuga it was written, and the reason behind this being written. In fact, I think Lata Mataji asked the question last time, right? So when was this written? Actually, it is coming in the new few verses, but there were 3 different answers which we discussed. I couldn't summarize it last week because of the lack of time. I thought I'll quickly summarize it. One is I was mentioning it was written even before the events have happened. Okay, because he's a Trikala yogi or Trikala Muni. He knows the past, present, and future. If you see the Bhagavatam, it has the past. It has the past because Bhagavatam, as he said, which yuga? You know that this all happening in the Dwapar Yuga, right? So Vyasadev is born in the end of Dwapar Yuga. That's going to come in few verses. We'll come to know about that when we talk about the history of Bhagavatam. So in Dwapar Yuga, he has compiled this, but he is writing about the past which happened in Satya Yuga, like the pastimes of Hiranyakashipu, Narsingadev appearing, many pastimes. And he also writes about that the appearance of Buddha, who's going to come after the Bhagavatam is compiled. After Bhagavatam compiled only, the Buddha's appearance coming up, Gautama Buddha. And even he writes about Kalki, the Kali-yuga, about the future, how the Kali-yuga is going to be. How about the Avatar, Kalki Avatar, which is going to come at the end of Kali-yuga. So the future events also. So that way he is there. The events of the Bhagavatam includes past and future. So that is correct. Other thing I think Param Prabhu was mentioning, it was written, it was compiled after the event. Like, this has actually happened because it will come now when it was compared at the end of Dwapar Yuga, why it was compared, who inspired him, all is going to come. Another thing it was said that even before compiling, he attracted Sukadeva Goswami, when he was leaving his home by reciting few slogas from Srimad Bhagavatam and welcoming Sukadeva Goswami back. Because Sukadeva Goswami, after his birth, he leaves to the forest. So that is also correct. Why? Because if you see what is going to come, um, Vyasadev was very melancholy. He became very sad I don't know, within his heart, he felt very sad. He has not done the justice what he was feeling. But he has written the Vedas, he have written the Puranas. So we know there are 18 Puranas, right? So in that also, Bhagavatam is there earlier also, right? Before he compiled. So, but those Bhagavatam, Jiva Goswami mentions, it is in a most concise. It's a very concise form and it is in a very subtle form. It was not elaborated much. So the Bhagavatam, which is going to compile in the Dwapar Yuga, that was very elaboratively, basically to address, because after Dwapar Yuga, Kali-yuga is coming, basically to address the people of Kali-yuga. So that's the point. But some of the answers are going to come when we are going to read about the history of Bhagavatam. All right, so that is about the third question. Then fourth to eighth question talks about the qualities of Sukadeva Goswami. Who is this Sukadeva Goswami? So it's said that he is the son of Vyasadev, he is the Mahayogi, he is a equibalanced monist, and whose mind is always thinking about the monoism. Monoism means he is fixed on something unique, which is the supreme. So he is transcendental in nature, he is not attracted to any mundane activities, and he is actually unexposed, to the kind of a mundane world, and he appears to be more ignorant or a kind of a mad person, like a crazy man he appears. And one of the pastime is also mentioned in the fifth verse, that when Sukadeva Goswami is walking and Vyasadev is following him. So when he is walking across, there was a pond in which there were a lot of women who were nakedly taking bath. So when Sukadeva Goswami passed, they didn't bother about anything. They were just continuing with taking the bath. But when Vyasadev, who was following Sukadeva Goswami, went across, they tried to cover themselves. So then Vyasadeva felt little odd. See, I am a sage and my son is just a 16 years old boy, and a 16 years old boy is passing. You guys didn't cover up yourself. But when I'm a, very householder who was just traveling, who has a big son like you, but you're trying to cover up. So he goes and asks them. He become very inquisitive, like, why did you guys do that? So the ladies told, see, your son has no difference of gender. He for him, the tree is same, a human being is same. He knows no male or female. But whereas you are a householder, so you have a child also. So you know what is male and female gender. That is why we covered ourselves up. So that is the kind of just to express the qualities of Sukadeva Goswami, how transcendental he was. Then the next verse, sixth verse, talks about when Sukadeva Goswami reaches Hastinapura, where Parikshit Maharaj is there. How did the people recognize him? Because he goes naked and he's like a mad person with long hair and a very young person. So how did people recognize him? That was another question. Then they're asking, how did Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami meet? Because Parikshit Maharaj is said to be one of the greatest emperor of the world. He was in fact ruling the entire world. Whereas Sukadeva Goswami is a sage just going across the forest and the other places on its own, and he's like that. Whereas Parikshit Maharaj is a great ruler. How that two contradictory persons, how did they meet? So that's the question. And then they asked, why did Sukadeva Goswami? Because Sukadeva Goswami doesn't stay at one place, for a long time. So the example given there in the eighth verse is Sukadeva Goswami stays at a place equivalent to a time the cow is being milked. What is the time a cow is milked? It may take half an hour maximum, some milking the cow. So he stays in a place just for some alms, from the householders, and he gives some transcendental knowledge to them. So that's the time in which he stays in the house. And then from 9th to 12th verses talks about questions about Parikshit Maharaj. So what is his birth? The ninth verse talks about what is the birth, how is the, I heard that Parikshit Maharaj had a wonderful birth. All of us know his birth. They were very eager to know more about that. So how wonderful his birth was, and what was the activities of Parikshit Maharaj, because he was a first class devotee, because he was a great devotee, so they wanted to know more about him. And how did such a great emperor, in verse number 10 and 11 talks about how did such a great emperor renounce, you give away everything, and then he is going uh, and what is ready to facing the death, right? So he is coming from a great lineage of Pandu dynasty. He was a very young, powerful king with so much opulences. How did he give up all these opulences and sit down in the bank of the Ganges? Fast. Under he was going to fast until death. So how did this happen? So that's verse number 10 and 11. This is where we finished. We'll see with the verse number 11. Any clarifications? I will be trying to go a little fast. We are already just in the fourth chapter. Nearly we are 4 months we covered, but we have lot to cover more. This is 19th chapter in this canto. So we'll try to go a little fast. So any questions you can put in the chat. At the end of the class, we can take it up, or in the first time of the next class. Okay.
Can I ask just a sec question?
Yeah, any clarifications you can always ask, but any philosophical questions or that kind of a concept we'll think of. Yeah, tell me, madam.
I mean, and then
Yeah.
a lame person can ask, like, Parikshit Maharaj was saved at the time of birth, but Krishna didn't save him at the time of the death. I mean, what do we get out of that? That is,
Yeah, that's a very high philosophical question. We will be seeing that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. In fact, Parikshit Maharaj himself, that answer is coming in the 19th chapter. Okay. We have to be little patient on that. Okay. Can you see my screen now? So this we already covered, but because 10 and 11 talks about renunciation, so the question is about Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit, can you see my screen? Hare Krishna. Yeah, okay. So he was a very good administrator and he had a good name. His forefathers, he's coming from the Guru dynasty, Pandu lineage. So that's verse number 10. Let's go to verse number 11. So again, the question continues about Parikshit Maharaj. Anyone wants to read this verse? Did we read this verse last time? No. Okay, let me read. Namyanti yat padaniketam atmanam Sivaya hanyaya dani sarvatraha katam sa virai shriyam anga dusyajam yuvyayo astastraram aho saha sushubhi. He is a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at their feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed insuperable kingly opulences. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life? So, this is the question which he is asking. So, they are asking, he had no problem to maintain the kingdom. He is very young, very powerful, and all. So, what is the need for him to retire from active life? But these points are from the purport. So he did not even have to ask for taxes because everybody was pleased, including his enemies. But they all just gave the wealth to him because he was a great administrator. So everyone loved him. Basically, he's saying there is no enemy for him. Even, if you see Yudhishthira, he is said to be, he has no enemy. And Parikshit Maharaj is his grandson. And actually son of Abhimanyu, or grandson of Arjuna. And he's also grandson of Yudhishthira. So he was such a great person, which was so full of, that his kingdom was full of good harvesting, grains, metals, milk, river and mountains were giving full potency. So materially, the kingdom itself was so satisfied. All these people, subject, were so satisfied. There was no problem in the kingdom. But why did he want to renounce? That's the question. Okay, verse number 12. Anyone wants to read?
I can read, Babuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Om Krishna. Shivaye loksaye bhavaye bhutaye ch uttam shloka parayana janam jivananti natmarthamaso parashriya sumocho nivartam kuvantam kalevaram. So, translation?
Yeah.
Those who are devoted to the cause of the personality of Godhead live only for the welfare, development, and happiness of others. They do not live for any selfish interest. So, even though the Emperor Parikshit was free from all attachment to worldly possession, how could he give up his mortal body, which was shelter for others? Purport. Parikshit Maharaj was an ideal king and householder because he was a devotee of personality of Godhead. A devotee of Lord automatically has all good qualifications, and the emperor was a typical example of this. Personally, had no attachment for all the worldly opulences in his possession, but since he was king for the all-around welfare of his citizens, he was always busy in welfare work of public, not only for this life but also for the next. He would not allow slaughterhouses or killing of cows. He was not a foolish and partial administrator who would arrange for the protection of one living being and allow another to be killed. Because he was a devotee of the Lord, he knew perfectly well how to conduct his administration for everyone's happiness. Men, animals, plants, and all living creatures. He was not selfishly interested. Selfishness is either self centered or self extended. He was neither. His interest was pleasure, please the Supreme Truth, personality of Godhead. The king is a representative of Supreme Lord, and therefore the king's interest must be identical with that of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord wants all living beings to be obedient to him and thereby become happy. Therefore, the king's interest is to guide all subjects back to the kingdom of God. Hence, the activities of citizens should be coordinated that they can, at the end, go back home, back to Godhead. Under the administration of a representative king, the kingdom is full of opulence. At that time, human beings need not eat animals. There are ample food grains, milk, fruit, and vegetables, so that the human beings as well as animals can eat sumptuously and to their heart's content. If all living beings are satisfied with food and shelter and obey the prescribed rules, there cannot be any disturbance between one living being and another. Emperor Parikshit was a worthy king, and therefore all were happy during his reign. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes. So, yeah, the summary is given there. So, the quality of Parikshit Maharaj is a great devotee. Parikshit, he being an ideal king. So, Prabhupada compares uh, to the emperor of, so you can compare him like Ambrish Maharaj. So, how devotees of Lord. So, being a devotee, He had all good qualifications. So one of the qualification is detached from the opulences, the material opulences of being an emperor, So he was always, welfare, was always thinking of the welfare of his citizen. He was not selfishly interested. So he wanted to always please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, and he was performing all his duties as a king. So king should take care of not just the citizens to make everyone happy, all the subject matter, even the plants, even the animals, or all the living creatures. So those days, even all living creatures under the king was considered to be his subject. So he was to take care of all of them. So yeah. So that is the kind of a situation was there. So how did he give up his mortal body, which was actually others were taking shelter? All the subject matter of his kingdom were taking shelter of this king Parikshit. How is that he wanted to give away his life? So that's the question coming up. Okay, let's go to verse number 13. Any volunteers?
Prabhu, can I
Bhupeshwar?
read?
Yes, bro.
Yes, Prabhu. Text 13. तत्सर्वं न समाचक्ष्व पृष्टो यद् इह किञ्चन मनयित्वां विषयवाचं सनातम् अन्यत्र छान्दसात्. Translation. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portions of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you.
Okay.
Purport.
Yeah, I was thinking quickly we can see this purport. So, okay, you can read if you want.
The difference between the Vedas and the Puranas is like that between the Brahmins and the Parivajaks. The Brahmins are meant to be the administer some fruitive sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas, but the Parivrajakacharyas or learned preachers are meant to disseminate transcendental knowledge to one and all. As such, the Parivrajakacharyas are not always expert in pronouncing the Vedic mantras, which are practiced systematically by accent and meter by the Brahmins, who are meant for administering Vedic rites. Yet, it should not be considered that the Brahmins are more important than the itinerant preachers. They are one and different simultaneously because they are meant for the same and in different ways. There is no
Okay,
difference.
we'll stop here, Prabhu. Yeah. So basically, Prabhupada in the purport talks about, he compares between the Vedas and Puranas, right? So what did you understand from this purport? What is the difference between Vedas and Puranas? So Vedas, if you see uh, more of the karma kandic ritualistic activities are there. 80% of Vedas, 70 to 80% of Vedas are more of the karma kanda type, and they are meant for fruitive sacrifice. For ritualistic fruitive sacrifice, if someone wants any benefit, and that has to be recited properly in the proper meter, pronunciation of the Vedic mantras properly, and usually these are done by trained brahmanas. Whereas the Puranas, it is talking about Parivrija Acharyas. Parivraja Acharya. So these are all learned people who have learned all the Puranas, and and they are meant to disseminate the knowledge. So it's not very important that you pronounce the Vedic mantras properly. It's the only question of how giving the transcendental knowledge. Right? So, in fact, some of the people, when Prabhupada was taking the classes, many people used to come, elderly people. They said, "Oh, this Bhagavad Gita and all, we know I can recite the entire Bhagavad Gita without even seeing the book. Right from a young age, we were dealt the Bhagavad Gita like that." Prabhupada said, "Okay, that's very fine, but How much have you lived to the Bhagavad Gita? Did you live to what is said in the Bhagavad Gita? So that is very important. So this learned Parivikacharyas, it is mentioned that they are not expert in pronouncing but in the transcendental knowledge and realization they are expert, and then they give that knowledge to others. Whereas Vedas, it is required, more training, more practice in singing the meter, how it is. And each of the verses of Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam has in some meter it has been written. And where is this Vedas coming from? Where is the Puranas coming from? Vedas are emanating from the breath of the Lord, right? And then Puranas talking about is from the natural commentaries based on the Vedanta Sutras. It is written by Vyasadev. So that's the comparison. In fact, my slide puts that detail. So the most perfectly suited liberated soul, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, is absorbed in the studies of Bhagavatam, although already self-realized. So he follows the footstep, and therefore his position is not less important. He was not an expert in chanting Vedic mantras with metric pronunciation, which depends more on practice than actual realization. So we are more interested in realizing the transcendental knowledge, and we are not much interested in how correctly. I mean, it is very important that we have to sing or try to speak in a correct way, but the more concentration is how we apply the knowledge, how we realize the knowledge. So that's very important. So realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. That's what Prabhupada ends this purport, the last sentence. If you see in the purport, the last sentence says, realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. Let's go to the next verse. So as I said, 3 questions have been already asked now by Saunaka Rsi. So can someone say the 3 questions what was asked by Saunaka Rsi to Sukadeva Goswami in this chapter? Just now we discussed the 3 questions. There's so many questions, but broadly.
What was the reason behind?
No, Hema Mataji, you go next, Ritu Mataji.
Qualities of Saunaka Rishis.
No, that is qualities. You didn't ask the qualities. They were trying to tell. The first verse is talking about the qualities of Saunaka Rishi. But what question Saunaka Rishi asked?
Questions
Suta
on
Three
Parikshit
questions.
Maharaj.
Yes, one of the question is on Parikshit Maharaj.
Parikshit.
Yes, very good. What is the first question? Pooja Mata, you want to answer something? You're muted.
So, like, what was the about, I guess, Srimad Bhagavatam?
Correct. First question is, please tell us about the history of Srimad Bhagavatam. In which yuga it was spoken, why it was spoken, who inspired that. So generally, if you think, first question is, tell me about the history of Srimad Bhagavatam. Simple way. So that's what it says. So from 4th chapter, 14th verse onwards up to the 7th chapter, 11th verse, this is answered by Suta Goswami. And then what is the next question?
Why Parikshit Maharaj took this path even though he
Correct.
has everything?
Correct. Actually, that is the third question, but here actually is put question 2 there. But second question is basically about Sukadev Goswami they are talking. How did Sukadev Goswami people perceived when he came to Hastinapur, and how did he meet Parikshit Maharaj? So that was basically the second question. And the third question is, tell me now that Sukadeva Goswami meeting Parikshit Maharaj, tell me about Parikshit Maharaj. So what is his birth? What is his activities? But in the sequence in which Saunaka Rishi is answering is first talking about Bhagavatam, and then he's talking about Parikshit Maharaj, about his birth and activities up to actually 19th chapter. In fact, up to the end, he talks about Parikshit Maharaj. And only Sukadeva Goswami meeting Parikshit Maharaj is coming in the 19th chapter of this. Okay. So any questions you want to ask, you ask something which is relevant to what we are discussing. Anything future or past, let's not go. Let's always be in present. Okay. 14th verse. I think Jay Dharma Prabhu wants to read, right?
I can read, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu. You are unmuted, I thought.
Suta Uvacha Dvapare Samanuprapte Tritiye Yuga Paryaye Jata Parasharat Yogi Vasavyam Kalaya Hare. Suta Goswami said, when the second millennium overlapped the third, the great sage Vyasadeva was born to Parashara Muni in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu.
Yes.
Purport. There is a chronological order of 4 millenniums, namely Satya, Dwapara, Treta, and Kali. But sometimes there is overlapping. During the regime of Vaivasvata Manu, there was an overlapping of the 28th round of the 4 millions. And the third millennium appeared prior to the second. In that particular millennium, Lord Sri Krishna also descends, and because of this, there was some particular alteration.
Okay.
Thank
you. So this is the first was talking about the history of Bhagavatam. So first they are talking about the birth of whom? Birth of Vyasadev.
Yes.
Yeah. So Vyasadev is born to whom?
Parasharam.
Lata Mataji, you are muted. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, correct.
Parashara.
Parashara Muni and
Satyavati.
Satyavati.
Satyavati. Exactly. So this is what. So Satyavati is actually coming from a fisherman family. His father is Vasu. And Parashara Muni, when he was traveling, across the river where Satyavati, so he is a great astrologer and a great sage. So he sees the constellations in such a situation, and any child at that time is conceived, he will be a very great person. In fact, it will be an incarnation of Lord Himself. So he requested her, and then she gets conceived, and he also gives the boon that even though she is going to give a birth to a child, he will still be a virgin. That's the boon he gives her. And then she stays in a separate island where she gives birth to Vyasadev. And then you know the story that Santanu marries her. Santanu, the great king, who's the father of Pandu. Not Pandu, is the grandfather of, is the father of actually Bhishma.
Vishnu.
Bhishma Dev's father, Santanu. So he marries Satyavati, and from her a child comes, and through them only the Pandu, Dhritarashtra, they are all born. In fact, Vyasadev also plays a great role in the birth of Pandu and Dhritarashtra. So here another important point is mentioned here. You see here, the millennium is actually Satya, Dwapar, Treta, and Kali. Many people ask this question, whether it is Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali, or Satya, Dwapar, Treta, and Kali. So here this Prabhupada mentions in the purport, so this millennium, the 28th millennium, is if you see in this slide, in the 28th millennium of the Manna Avatar, Vaivastava Manvantara, in fact, the next slide may show still better. Okay, you see here. So this is Vaivastava Manu. So there are previously 6 Manus, and this is the 7th Manu. In each Manu, there are around 71 Chatur Yugas happening. So we are actually in the 28th Yuga. So in the 28th Yuga, Satya Yuga and then Treta Yuga comes. So they say there is a swap in Dwapar Yuga usually comes second and Treta third. But in this millennium, there is a swap in that. And in Dwapar Yuga, Vyasadev is born. So when he is born at the end. If you see in this 13th verse, it talks about Tritiya Yuga Pareya. Tritiya means three. So if you see, each Yuga can be made into three parts. So if you take, say, for instance, Satya Yuga, you see the small line here in the front, and there is a small line here in the back before this. So three parts. Any yuga is made of three parts. That is what is called Traitya. So the first is called Sandhya Rupa. Sandhya, morning Sandhya we talk about. And here is the last, and this is the Yuga Rupa. This is the main Yuga Rupa. At the end tip of that is the transition from Satya Yuga to Treta Yuga. The transition period within Satya Yuga at the end, it's called Sandhya Amsa Rupa. So three parts in each of the millennium. So like in same thing in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga, everything. So when Vyasadev was born was nearly at the end, the Traitya, the third portion, not at Sandhya or not at the Yuga Rupa. He was born in the Sandhya Amsa Rupa at the end. So that's what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tells, that he was born in the Sandhya at the end of the Dwapar Yuga, before the start of Kali-yuga. That's the period in which Vyasadeva was born. Okay, any questions still on this? What we are discussing?
Prabhu, the reversing of the yugas, one of the story book, what I overheard
Yeah.
long ago was Gautam Muni, like he prays and like when Ahalya was being cursed, the length of duration for which she need to wait was more. So then he requests the yugas to swap, and so Lord Ram can come and liberate her. That was one of the one I
One
heard.
of the
But
stories, yeah.
yeah,
That is one. There are many stories. Like, in fact, it is said in 20th Yuga only Krishna originally appears. Swayam Bhagavan appears. In the entire thing, Krishna originally appears in the 20th cycle out of the entire day of Brahma. Right? And
yeah.
during that time only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also appears. So this is the golden era which we are living. So we are so fortunate to live in a golden era where Krishna just appeared 5,000 years ago and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared 500 years ago. But you see how sinful we are that even when Krishna appeared, we didn't go back to the spiritual world. Even when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, we didn't go back. But we are so, even though we are fortunate in that way, but we were so much conditioned, we are still in this material world. We should have gone back long time. When Krishna itself appeared, we didn't go. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there, we didn't go. At least now we should take that opportunity to go back to Godhead. Because this is the best future. After this 10,000 golden period, it is said most of the devotees will all go away. So that time the Kali Yuga is going to become worse and worse and worse and worse for that. So if there is no devotees and other thing, nothing will be there. No one, more atheistic kind of people will be there. So best time to go back to Godhead. Yeah. Okay, yeah. This is also mentioned here. See, Santya Rupa is around 10% of this. And this is the middle Yuga Rupa is 80%. And end is Sandhya Amsa Rupa. That is 10% of the time, each time. So that's why the Kali Yuga, if you say, we are actually still in the Santya Rupa. If you take 10% of the years of 4,32,000, how much it comes? So maybe we have just crossed it, right? 10% could be 4,302, but we have just crossed that maybe probably now. All right. Let's go to the
Sorry,
next.
Prabhu. Sorry, the slide which you were showing where appearance of Vyasadeva was on the cusp of Dwapara and Kali, right? Or transition.
No, at the,
So
at the end of Dwapar Yuga, that
yeah,
Santya Rupa, Santya Amsa Rupa time.
yes, yes.
That was in Dwapar Yuga, but 10% end of Dwapar Yuga. He was born during that time.
Yeah, so all these whatever since he's a literary incarnation has written like bhashans for everything, right, Prabhu? I mean, so he wrote at this stage, is it? I thought because Satya Yuga or Treta Yuga also there were literatures. I mean,
Yeah,
including
that's
all.
what I was mentioning probably before you came. I tried to what to say, summarize those 3 points what we discussed last time.
Oh,
You know.
okay, sorry, I missed that.
So yeah, you missed out. So what I'm saying is, I was mentioning that Vyasadev was a Trikala yogi. All 3 times he knows. So when
Yeah.
he were compiled, his events like Buddha coming and Kali coming all came afterwards. He is writing this in the Dwapar Yuga, right? But only in the
Yeah.
end of Kali Yuga, Kalki is coming. And actually, the beginning of Kali Yuga sometimes only is Buddha coming. But even at that time, Vyasadeva has written about them. And he has also written about what happened in Satya Yuga. The Hiranyakashipu, Narsingadev appearance, all these are happening, and Rama appearing in Treta Yuga previously happened. So he compiled all those things. That is point number one. And number two is, um he's compiled this. What was the other point I mentioned, Mataji? Yeah, your point related to he called Sukadeva Goswami mentioning some verses, right? He he called back by reciting some Bhagavatam verses. In fact, we can see now that Vyasadeva will be very upset, even though he has written Puranas, Vedas. So Puranas, we all know there are 18 Puranas, right? So Bhagavatam was already there, but that was more concise and subtle. More detailed compilation was not there. Because of that only he is now very satisfied. At the end of this chapter, we'll see that. Okay, Prabhu, Bhagavatam was there, but it was very concise and subtle form. But that was more elaborated during Vyasadev time.
So it was been written that time, but it was available during Satya Yuga time as well, right? I mean, for the people who are in Satya Yuga or Treta Yuga, even they had access to all the literature, including the Puranas,
Yeah,
including the
because it's a cycle, Prabhu. The previous yugas,
yeah, maybe
whoever
they
was there, that would have been there,
yeah.
right? And the next yuga, I mean, we know Ashwatthama is going to be the Vyasadev. He is going to now compile. Now, Vyasadev, what did he do? We'll see. In this chapter, talks more in details about that.
Sure, thank you.
Okay. All right. Who wants to read the next verse?
I can read, Prabhu.
Ankit Prabhu, yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay. So this is 14 or 15, Prabhu?
15.
15, just a second. Yeah. Text 15. Sa kadachit sarasvatya upasya jalam suchi vivikta eka asina udite ravi mandale. Translation. Once upon a time, he, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his morning ablution in the waters of the Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate. Purport. The river Saraswati is flowing in the Badrika Ashrama area of the Himalayas, so the place indicated here is Samyaprasa in Badrika Ashram, where Sri Vyasadeva is residing.
Yeah. So it's talking about, first verse talked about his birth, and next verse is talking about, directly he's gone to his meditation, where he lives, where he lived. So he was living in near the river. His ashram was near the river Saraswati. Is Saraswati now flowing? said to be flowing under the underground. Saraswati is not flowing over, said to be underground. It's near the Badrika ashram. Anyone been to Badrika ashram? No? Yeah. So he was residing in a place called Samyaprasa in Badrika ashrama. Where his residence is there. Okay, let's go to the next
So,
verse.
Prabhu, is it same as Badrinath? Badrinath Dham?
Yeah, Badrika
Badrika?
ashram, Badrika. Yeah,
Okay.
Nara and Rishis are there.
Yeah.
So his presiding deities are Nara and Rishi. In fact, that's what, if you see some of the verses Vyasadev has written, he has written his deities. Which verse is that we read already? I think in the second chapter it comes. So if you see that verse that we chant, fourth text, Narayanam Namaskrityam Nayam Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatin Vyasam. So there he talks about this Narayana Rishi. So that's his presiding deity of Vyasadeva. Okay, so 16th verse.
I'll read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Text 16. Paravaragya sa ऋषिः कालिना व्यक्तरं हसा युगधर्म व्यक्तिकरं प्राप्तं bhuvi yuge yuge. Translation. The great sage Vyasadev saw anomalies in the duties of the millennium. This happens on the earth in different ages due to the unseen force of time. Purport. The great sages like Vyasadev are liberated souls and therefore they can see clearly past and future. Thus he could see the future anomalies in the Kali age and accordingly he made arrangement for the people in general so that they can execute a progressive life in this age which is full of darkness. The people in general in this age of Kali are too much interested in matter which is temporary. Because of ignorance, they are unable to evaluate the assets of life and be enlightened in spiritual knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so 15th and 16th verse is talking about Vyasadeva sitting on the banks of Saraswati and meditating. So what is he going to meditate in this? He's meditating about what? Prabhu read this now. So he's meditating on what is going to happen in Kali-yuga. So the great sage Vyasadeva saw the anomalies happening in Kali-yuga. So unforeseen forces in the course of time, what is going to happen there? He could see the future anomalies in Kali-yuga. People in general are full of darkness. They are too much interested in material prosperity, which is temporary in nature. Because of ignorance, they are not able to evaluate their asset of life. So what is the goal of life? They are not able to decide what is the goal of life. What is the success in life? People go after material prosperity. So that's what he is sitting there in the banks and he is meditating future Kali Yuga, what's going to happen. In fact, 17 and 18, more details about it are there. Any volunteers here to read? Lata Mata, do you want to try? Both.
Yeah, Prabhu, you can.
No, read.
Bhauktikanam cha bhavanam shakti harsanam cha tat kratam ashraddha dananam danana niha sattvam durmedan ऋषितायुषः दुर्भागंश्च ज्ञानवीक्ष्य मुनिर्दिव्येन चक्षुषा सर्ववर्णाश्रमाणां यत् तद्योयुहितम् अमोघ
Yeah.
purport.
Translation.
Translation. The great sage, who was fully equipped in knowledge, could see through his transcendental vision the deterioration of everything material due to the influence of age. He could also see that the faithless people in general could be reduced in duration of life and could be impatient due to lack of goodness. Thus he contemplated for the welfare of men in all status and orders of life.
Thank you.
Purport. You want me to read the purport, Prabhu?
Yeah, please.
The unmanifested forces of life, of time, are so powerful that they reduce all matter of oblivion in due course. In
Quite a big purport. So what I want to see is the points are mentioned here. We'll just discuss those points. So the point here is, so what did Vyasadev do? He was meditating, because in the previous verse, if you see, there was one term called paravara. The first word, paravara jnana. Paravara means knowing the past and future. So one who knows jnana is one who knows the past and future. So he had full knowledge, he was equipped, and he could see with this transcendental vision how things are going to deteriorate. Because as I said, he is born in a period at nearly the end of Dwapar Yuga, and Kali-yuga is going to come soon. So he knows how that is going to influence, on the people in general, how Kali is going to influence. So the people will become more faithless in general, and the life is, the duration of the life is going to reduce. They will be very impatient, a very short duration. It's seen, people, the span, earlier it used to say the span of, people seeing things. You can hear, if you give classes for long hours, people doesn't have the capacity to retain. They used to say more than 8 minutes. The first 8 minutes are very good where people are to observe. But if you see today's world, only 30 seconds. If you see in the mobile, people just not anything even beyond 30 seconds, people don't like to watch. They just tick, 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 it goes away. So the scan, the time in which, impatience, people are very impatient in Kali Yuga. And you see the technology are providing such things also now. They are scrolling things, we keep scrolling things. So impatiently, we're becoming more impatient day by day. And the lack of good qualities. So what is this? Prabhupada mentioned in his purports, the power of all the material objects, deteriorates by the influence over the period of time. The material objects, like as I said, the technologies keep coming. Uh, how things are changing within that. And today, if you see this, what to say, the digital scope, the digital world has taken over people's mind. People are addicted to it now. In fact, we can see there are parties elected based on the Instagram, and their latest is there's something called CPJ, right? CJP. Like BJP, now they call Cockroach Janata Party, and it has taken over the world like anything. Everywhere you see Cockroach Janata Party, and it is said people are going to stand election for that. So that's what is happening. So influence of time is just changing things here. So duration of our body life is reduced. Our memories are very short. Our intelligence is meager. Our land does not produce proper grains, enough food is not there, people fighting against each other. There's no enough milk, every prices are going high. All living being, both men, animals, we are not getting nourishes food. So they say all fast food, or stale food, that's what we are eating now. Very less production of vegetables and fruits. All they call organic, but mostly they are all pesticides based, full of hypocrisy. So this Kali-yuga is full of quarrel and hypocrisy. So that's what is there. And if you want to go more detail, the symptoms of Kali-yuga is there in the 12th canto. More details is mentioned there. How our body strength is decreasing, how we become faithless, how we become very dull-headed person, our lifestyle durage, we are very unlucky. So this is already Vyasadev is meditating, contemplating about the Kali Yuga is going to come. So now when he knows that something like this is going to happen, as a great sage, what he has to do, that's what is mentioning. Now even the space is not there and Vedas are there. Vedas were actually said to be one previously. It is only Vyasadev. That's why it's called Vyasa. Vyasa means dividing. So he divided the Vedas into the four Vedas. Actually, everything was said to be Yajur Veda, and he divided them as Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva. Let's see the verse number 19. Chatur Hotram Karma Sutam Prajanam Vishaya Vaitikam Vayadadda Yashya Santaya Vedam Ekam Chaturvidam. He saw the sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas were means by which the people's occupations could be purified. And to simplify the process, he divided one Veda into four in order to expand among men. All right. So in the purport, Prabhupada highlights that how this Yajur Veda is split into four Vedas. And further, he writes that as such, the Puranas and Mahabharatas were made from related historical facts which explain the teaching of the four Vedas. So Puranas and Mahabharatas are coming under which category? Under Vedas? Vedas has broadly under two categories, right? Anyone knows what are the two categories?
You mean Karma Kanda and Dana Kanda, Upasana Kanda?
No.
Shruti and
Shruti and
written,
Smriti.
yeah,
Shruti and Smriti.
Smriti,
What is the Shruti means?
which can be heard.
Which can be heard. So Vedas are under
Shruti,
Shruti. And Smriti are?
Puranas.
No, what is the meaning of Smriti?
which can be
Remembrance.
remembered.
Remembered, yes. So these Puranas and Mahabharatas, Itikas all come under the Smritis. So that's it. Very good. So there is no point in doubting the authorities of Purana and Mahabharata are part and parcel. So these all comes under scriptures. Broadly, they are all comes under scriptures and they are said to be the fifth Vedas. So the Puranas and Itikadas are said to be the fifth Vedas. So that's what in the 20th verse talks about. Rig Yajur Samatva Arvakartya Vedas Cha Artha Yudirat Itikasa Puranam Cha Pamchamo Veda Uchate. So the four divisions of the original source of the knowledge, the Vedas, were made separately, but the historical facts and authentic stories mentioned in the Puranas are called the fifth Vedas. So there are two Idikasas, one is Mahabharata and Ramayana. And Puranas, after writing all the Puranas, how many Puranas were there? 18 Puranas. Then he handed over them to Romaharshana. Romaharshana is said to be the father of Suta Goswami. He was in charge of all Puranas. So this we already finished reading. So I will skip this. This is talking about the Sandarbha written by Jiva Goswami. Not interested in that. 21. Anyone wants to read verse 21? Ankit Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
तत्र वेद धारा पहला समगो जैमिनी कवि वैशंपायन इवैको निस्नातो यजुसम उता.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Translation.
After the Vedas were divided into 4 divisions, Paila Rishi became the professor of the Rig Veda, Jaimini the professor of Samveda, and Vaishampayana alone became glorified by the Yajurveda. The original source of knowledge is the Vedas. There are no branches of knowledge, either mundane or transcendental, which do not belong to the original text of the Vedas. They have simply been developed into different branches.
Okay. So, as I said, Vedas were all one. There were only one Veda initially, and only Vyasadev. So Vyasa, that Vyasadev is having a Krishna Dwapayana Vyasa. His name is Krishna Dwapayana. So, but generic name, the position is called Vyasadev. Vyasa means division. So he divided the Vedas into Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva. And not only he did that, he also identified some good scholarly person, learned scholarly person as the department. So they will promote this Veda. So here, Palya Rishi, he is given to take care of this Rig Veda. So different learned scholars were identified. Vyasadeva identified and gave this part of the Veda to the head like a head of the department. They will take care of this Vedas. And Jaimini Rishi will take off Samaveda. And Vaipanshayana Rishi, he will take care of Yajur Veda. And Angira Muni, he will take care of Artharva Veda. And Puranas is Romaharshana Rishi. So that's what he did. Ritu Mata, you want to read the next one?
Text 22. Atharva Girasham Ashite Sumantaro Darhono Maniha Itihasa Purananam Pitame Romaharshana. Thus, Sumanto Muni Angira, who was very devotedly engaged, was entrusted with Atharva Veda, and my father Roman Harshana was entrusted with Puranas and historical records. In the Shruti mantras, also it is stated that Angira Muni, who strictly followed the rigid principles of Atharva Veda, was the leader of followers of Atharva Veda.
Yeah. Thank you. Who else? Rakesh Prabhu, next to us.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Text 23. Ta et rushayo vedam swam samvesya na nekada shishye prashishye stachi prashishye stachisher vedaste shakhino bhavan. Translation. All these learned scholars in their turn rendered their entrusted Vedas unto their many disciples, grand disciples, and great grand disciples, and thus the respective branches of the followers of the Vedas came into being. Purport. The original source of knowledge is the Vedas. There are no branches of knowledge, either mundane or transcendental, which do not belong to the original text of Vedas. They have simply been developed into different branches. They were originally rendered by great, respectable, and learned professors. In other words, the Vedic knowledge, broken into different branches by different disciplic successions, has been distributed all over the world. No one, therefore, can claim independent knowledge beyond the Vedas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So this is only talking about the parampara in which this knowledge has been being transferred. How the great branches from the disciples, grand disciples and great grand disciples, how they are coming. Who else? Bhupesh Prabhu or Dharma Prabhu wants to read the next verse?
Sure, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Ta eva veda durmader dharayante purushair evam chakara bhagavan vyasa kripana vatsada. Thus the great sage Vyasadeva, who is very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so they might be assimilated by less intellectual men.
Thank you. Just read this purport here. This is a shorter version.
The Veda is one, and the reasons for its division in many parts are explained here. The seed of the knowledge or the Vedas is not a subject matter which can be easily understood by an ordinary man. There is a stricture that no one should try to learn the Vedas who is not a qualified Brahmana. This stricture has been wrongly interpreted in so many ways. A class of men who claims Brahmanical qualification simply by their birthright in the family of a Brahmana claims that the study of the Vedas is a monopoly of the Brahmana class only. Caste only. Another section of the people take this as an injustice to members of the other caste who do not happen to take birth in the Brahmana family. But both of them are misguided. The Vedas are subjects which had to be explained even to Brahmaji by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the subject matter is to be understood by persons with exceptional qualities of goodness. Persons who are in the modes of passion and ignorance are unable to understand the subject matter of the Vedas. The ultimate goal of Vedic knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. So this verse is talking about what Vyasadev did by editing the Vedas. Because the Kali-yuga, very less intelligence people are going to come. So for them to understand the Vedas is very difficult. So he made this arrangement. But even there, Prabhupada writes, how compassionate Vyasadeva was. So he writes how Veda, about the strictures of Vedas. No one should try to learn the Vedas who is not qualified Brahmana. The strictures. So sometimes it is wrongly interpreted. Some people feel that only Brahmins are allowed to read Veda. What about others? Right? So other caste people cannot read Vedas or what. So Prabhupada clarifies, he says, one should have an exceptional qualities of goodness to study the Vedas. So one with the mode of passion and ignorance, they cannot understand the Vedas. But better thing is the ultimate goal of all the Vedas is to know Krishna. So if anyone is going to understand, this is what is the essence of the Vedas is try to understand Krishna. So the ultimate goal of Vedic knowledge is to know Krishna and to understand who is the personality of Godhead. So in the purport actually it is fully is not there. In the Satyuga, everyone is situated in mode of goodness. Gradually, the mode of goodness is declined during Treta and Dwapar Yugas, and general mass of people become corrupt. In the present age, mode of goodness is almost nil. So that means what Prabhupada is trying to say is now the people very difficult to be in mode of goodness. So none are eligible to read the Vedas. And so for the general mass of people, the kind-hearted sage Vyasadev divided the Vedas into various ways so that they may be practically followed by less intelligent man in the mode of passion and ignorance. Right? So more detail is explained in the next verse, he says. Let's go to 25th verse. So I will go back to who is there in the cycle. Prashant Prabhu, Bhupesh Prabhu. If you guys are not there, I'll ask Ankit Prabhu to again try. This is about
Yes,
Sri.
Prabhu.
Yeah.
Stri Shuddha dvija-bandhu mam traina shruti gochara karma shreyasi mudhanam shreya evam bhaved iha iti bharatam akyanam kripa munina kritam. Out of compassion, the great sage thought it wise it would be wise that this would enable men to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Thus, he compiled the great historical narration called the Mahabharata for women, laborers, and friends of the twice born. Purpose of writing Mahabharata.
Okay. All right. No.
Okay.
So the purport, just 1 second. So yeah, 25th verse purport. So purport, the friends of twice born family. So you want to read the purport?
I can read, Prabhuji. I have in front
Yes.
of me.
Yeah. Yes, bro.
Who is
Please
reading?
go ahead. Rakesh Prabhu or Prashant Prabhu? Who wants to read?
Because your screen is not showing, but I have in front of
No,
me. I
Rakesh
thought I
Prabhu
can.
read. Prashant Prabhu
Okay.
will do the next verse. Yeah, Rakesh Prabhu, go ahead.
Okay, purport. The friends of twice born families are those who are born in the families of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, or the spiritually cultured families, but who themselves are not equal to their forefathers. Such descendants are not recognized as such for want of purificatory achievements. The purificatory activities begin even before the birth of a child, and the seed-giving reformatory process is called Garbhadhana Samskara. One who has not undergone such a Garbhadhana Samskara or spiritual family planning is not accepted as being of an actual twice-born family. The Garbhadhana Samskara is followed by other purificatory processes, out of which the sacred thread ceremony is one. This is performed at the time of spiritual initiation. After this particular samskara, one is rightly called twice born. One birth is calculated during the seed giving samskara, and the second birth is calculated at the time of spiritual initiation. One who has been able to undergo such important samskaras can be called bona fide twice born. If the
Okay,
father and
yeah.
mother,
Yeah,
yep.
we'll just see here. So we have this Varnashram. We talk about Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishyas and Sudras. Here, who has said that dvija, that is twice born. So they fall under the category of Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya. That is, they are those who have undergone purification. They are those who have taken initiation. As far as we talk about various initiation, I'll come to that. So they are said to be the twice born. Second birth they take by through initiation. But what happens is those who can't take this, like Sudras, it is said when women's also come under those categories, of that. So they have not undergone purification process. But the other way of one who have not gone under Garbhasthan, those who have not, I'll come to those in the next slide about the various samskaras. Continue, bro.
Prabhuji, here for Sudras and women, it says only Vivaham. What does that mean?
Only after marriage.
Oh, okay.
Viham is related to that is one of the samskaras.
Right. I will continue. If the father and
Yeah.
mother do not undertake the process of spiritual family planning and simply beget children out of passion only, their children are called dvija-bandus. These dvija-bandus are certainly not as intelligent as the children of regular twice-born families. The dvija-bandus are classified with the Shudras and the woman class, who are by nature less intelligent. The Sudras and woman class do not have to undergo any sanskar save and accept the ceremony of marriage. So yeah, that's what it says here.
Yeah, that's what you asked the question. Yeah, continue, finish it off.
The less intelligent class of men, namely women, Sudras, and unqualified sons of higher castes, are devoid of necessary qualifications to understand the purpose of transcendental Vedas. For them, the Mahabharata was prepared. The purpose of Mahabharata is to administer the purpose of Vedas, and therefore, within this Mahabharata, the summary Veda of Bhagavad Gita is placed. The less intelligent are more interested in stories than in philosophy, and therefore philosophy of the Vedas in the form of Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Lord Shri Krishna. Vyasadev and Lord Krishna are both on transcendental plane, and therefore they collaborated in doing good to the fallen souls of this age. The Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. It is the first book of spiritual values as Upanishads are. The Vedanta philosophy is the subject matter for study by spiritual graduates. Only the postgraduate spiritual student can enter into spiritual or devotional service of the Lord. It is a great science, and the great professor of is the Lord himself in the form of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And persons who are empowered by him can initiate others in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So what it means here, so less intelligent peasant like women and sutras and unqualified sons of the higher class. For them, Mahabharata, Ramayana, all these idikasas are basically that help to purification or get for them the philosophy. So less intelligence are mostly not much keen on philosophical. They want more stories. Many people will be interested just to listen to the stories. Philosophical points they may not understand much, but that is the way in which he knows that in Kali-yuga these things has to be there. So Vyasadev provided all these things. All right. So yeah, that's what this side shows. And I was talking about this samskaras. Broadly there are 16 samskaras, but generally we'll say 13 samskaras. So like there are certain prenatal and pregnancy samskaras. You know what is samskaras? So purificatory process, basically simple understanding is for purification process. So one of the thing is garbhasthana samskaras. So this starts, after the marriage, before a child is to be conceived. So this is called the garbhadhana samsara, the level of conception of a child. And then once the child is conceived, then after 3 months, there's another samskara done that is called pumaswanam. So that's basically, for sanctification of the embryo. So overall growth and development of the child and protection of the baby. So generally it's done around the 3 months period after the conceive of the child. And basically this Pumsavana also means sometimes, they do this yajna for the puja also so that they get a male child. Someone wants a male child also, this samskara is done there. And then they do the third one is called Simodanaya. Simandam it's called, or Simodanaya. That is parting of the hair. So generally in the English term it's called the baby shower, in the 7th and 8th month of a child is done there. That is another samskaras. And then these three are before the child is born. And then after the child is born, it is called the Swasyanti and Jata Karma at the time of the birth of the child. So Jata Karma is done for safe delivery and virtual birth rituals, just during the birth and after the birth. Swayanti is done just before the birth, and Jata Karma is done after the birth. And then is Namakarma. Namakarma, everyone knows, giving the name of the child. So that's done after 11 or 21 days after the child is born. And then the next one is called Annaprashna is done. Oh, before that is called the Nishka Karmanam. So the child is taken out to some of the relatives' house or uncle's house, or generally in ISKCON, we take the child to the temple, First we take the child to the temple. First outing of the child. And then is Annaprashna, the first feeding of solid food. So after the 6 or 7 months, we talk about feeding solid food. And the next is related to what? Piercing the ears and mundan, karma vedam, piercing ears and churda karna or mundan we call, first shave of the hair. So this is done within the first year of the child born. And after that, samskara is the vidyarambha. The child is first taught to learn to write. And then the upanayam. Generally in the Brahmin, they have this sacred ceremony. But when it comes to ISKCON devotee, we talk about initiation here. So this is where we get the first initiation. Then the second initiation is related to the Brahmin thread, right? First is the Harinam initiation, second is the Brahmin initiation. That is the Upanayam. And this Parishradam, Sheshantam, we don't see this much. Parishradam generally in the Gurukul, in each year after they finish studying, they go to the next year. This samskaras are done. And the Seshantam and Nitusruti. So these are done when a child, around 15 to 16 years, when a child is transferring from a childhood to an adolescent age. When that happens, these are done. And after he finishes the Gurukulam, Samarvartanam, this samskara is done. End of he finishes his brahmacharya study. Gurukulam generally all the brahmacharyas they study. And now after the end of the student life, then he takes the path of householder. So after brahmacharya, grahastha. So vivaham, that's another samskara. And after all the thing getting the antisyam. So this is the last rite, funeral. So that's another samskara. So these are general 16 samskaras. Out of that, 13 are very popular. I mean, generally we follow that. All right. Let's go to the next one. Yes, Shaumya Mataji. We want to keep the question to the last unless if something related this. Please go ahead quickly.
Prabhuji, just curious. It's okay if we don't have time. So are
Yeah.
women not considered in any parts of those four Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, or Shudra?
Yeah, they are actually the Shudras, women, actually, as per Vedas, they are all come under, the other class. They are less intellectual people, it is
So
considered in the Vedic system.
so a Brahmana, a Rishi's wife also come under the same category?
Yeah, they are all women, right? As per Vedas, they are assisting their husbands.
Okay.
Mm.
And in
But
today's
in the present Kali-yuga, it's something there. All of us, there is no one in the mode of goodness, no one in the Brahmana or Kshatriya or Vaishya today.
yeah.
All are mostly Sudras.
Yeah. So
All
in
of us
today's
come under that in today's category.
okay. So in today's world,
This was basically
irrespective,
in various other yugas we can talk about all the brahmanas. Now today very difficult to get who could do all this process.
yeah, actually that was my
Yeah.
another question. Thank you, Prabhuji. That's all.
But still we have to follow the Vedic culture. We are trying to create, Prabhupada, that's what he wanted to bring a Brahminical culture. In fact, if you see this in ISKCON, we are giving initiation. Upanayams, generally women are not given. Even in the Brahmin community, if you see, only men are given that. Right? But in ISKCON, initiations we are giving. Even Brahmin initiation is given to women in ISKCON.
Yeah, that's right, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Only that they are not given sannyas yet. Sannyas in a sense initiating sannyas or something like that.
Brahmacharya is not allowed for girls.
Not brahmacharya. Yeah.
But Prabhuji,
Brahmacharyas are since those who are not getting married. Brahmacharya, what was brahmacharya? Simple meaning is maintaining celibacy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But is that allowed for girls?
No, that's a discipline you can keep. No, anyone is there. A keeping celibacy. It's not that you can. It is up to you. And today more freedom is given. But as per Veda, women are to be protected. From the childhood up to marriage, the father protects the child. She should be always under the shelter of a male. That is as per, I'm talking about the Vedic system. And after marriage, she should be under the protection of her husband. And in case she's not having husband is no more or something, but the son, the children will have to protect. That's what is the Vedic implications. Okay, Mataji, but Kali-yuga, everything is changing. So that's what Vyasadev is trying to tell. I know you raised a question. I will personally discuss on that with you.
That's fine, Prabhuji. It's
Yeah, okay.
very complicated because now, as you're saying in Kali Yuga, because the protectors are only becoming, it said
Yeah,
that
yeah,
are
yeah,
becoming the
yeah,
bhakshaks. So,
yeah.
how to protect? So,
Yeah.
that is.
I told you, in Kali Yuga, there was one question asked with Yudhishthira Maharaj. I know on the Saturday's classes, I told that story, I think. So in Kali Yuga, when Yudhishthira Maharaj was the king, there were some his countrymen came running to ask question. So one of them asked this question. Actually, Bhima was outside. He said, "Why are you all approaching to Yudhishthira Maharaj? You ask me, I will try to answer." So that time, when this, the king, some citizen of that kingdom, he said, "My question is, see, I am seeing, in the field, you put a, what to say, a, a boundary, fencing." In the field, in the paddy field or something, they put a fencing so that no animals are to protect the paddy. So what they are saying is, see, we have put a fencing, but we are seeing the fence itself is eating the grass or whatever is being cultivated, the paddy. The fence is trying to eat. So what is that for us to understand? So Bhima couldn't answer. He said Yudhishthira Maharaj is the best person to answer. So he said it is only showing that the ruler or whoever is supposed to protect, itself is harmful to the harvest, the paddy or whatever is being cultivated, right? The fence is supposed to protect it, but that is eating away the same thing. So that's the symptom of Kali Yuga. There's no protector.
Yes.
Your point is right. Kali Yuga is like that.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. All right. Yes, Prabhu. Prashant Prabhu. 26th. Another 4 or 5 verses to go quickly.
एवं प्रवृत्तस्य सदा भूतानां श्रेयसि द्विजा सर्वात्मकेनापि यदा नातुष्य दृढ दृढयं ततः.
Yeah.
O twice born Brahmanas, still his mind was not satisfied, although he engaged himself in working for the total welfare of all people.
Yeah. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sri Vyasadev Maharaj was not satisfied with himself, although he had prepared literatures of Vedic value for all around welfare of general mass of people. It was expected that he would be satisfied by all such activities, but ultimately he was not satisfied.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Thank you. So this verse is talking about Vyasadeva who did so much work. He had the Vedas split into 4. He identified some scholars, asked them to take care of Vedas. Puranas are there, Mahabharata are there. So all these, even though the Vedas are meant for twice born people like Brahmana, Vaishyas, and Kshatriyas, those people can study the Vedas and get the knowledge. And for the Shudras and the women and other category, he had the Mahabharata, and the Puranas for them to read. But still, all these things he has done, but still he is not satisfied. So he feels something is missing. Even though I have done so much for the welfare, he still feels something he is left out. So dissatisfaction comes within his heart. So, yes, who wants to read the next one? Bhupesh Prabhu, want to give a try?
Yes, Prabhu, I'll try. Text 28 and 29. Dhritavrtena himaya chandamshi guravo
No, we are
agyana.
not read 27, Prabhu.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Okay.
27. Nati prasidad dridayah sarasvataya tate shocho vitarkayan viviktastha idam chovach dharmavit. Translation. Thus the age being dissatisfied at the heart at once began to reflect because he knew the essence of religion, and he said within himself,
Yeah.
Purport, the sage began to search out of the cause of not being satisfied at heart. Perfection is never attained until one is satisfied at the heart. This satisfaction of heart has to be searched out beyond matter.
Okay. So having being dissatisfied, now he is trying to find out what is the cause for it. No one attains perfection, but is not satisfied. So he wants to search what is happening here. You want to continue? You already read that 28 and 29. Please continue.
Yes, Prabhu. 28 and 29. And Dhrita himaya chandamsi guravo ajnanah manita nirvalikena kritam chanushasanam bharat vyapadeshana he amnaya hathas cha pradarshitah drishyate yat dharmadi stri shudra dibhir apyauta. Translation. I have, under strict disciplinary vows, unpretentiously worshipped the Vedas, the spiritual masters, and the altar of sacrifice. I have also abided by the rulings and have shown the import of disciplic succession through the explanation of Mahabharata, by which even women, Shudras, and others, friends of the twice born, can see the path of religion. But no one can understand import of the Vedas without having undergone a strict disciplinary vow and disciplic succession. The Vedas, spiritual masters, and sacrificial fire must be worshipped by the desiring candidate. All these intricacies of Vedic knowledge are systematically presented in Mahabharata for the understanding of the woman class, the laborer class, and the unqualified members of the Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya families. In this age, Mahabharata is more essential than original Vedas. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Yeah, I have some issue with this. So what is this? I have. So what is key point here? You can just highlight. Meantime, I'll set up this one back. Yeah. So 20. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So the same thing, I've made so many things, but still I am dissatisfied. That's he's trying to highlight here. I had strict vows, worship the Vedas, spiritual masters, done sacrifice. I've explained through Mahabharata, in story form for different category of people or the path of religion. All right, verse number 30. Anyone wants to read this verse?
I can read from.
Yes, bro.
तथापि बाता मेदहि हेयात्मचैवात्मना विभुः असम्पन्ना इवा बहति ब्रह्मा वर्चस्य Tamaha. I'm feeling incomplete, though I myself are fully equipped with everything required by the Vedas. Purport. Undoubtedly, Srila Vyasadeva was complete in all the details of Vedic achievements. Purification of the living beings submerged in matter is made possibly by the prescribed activities in the Vedas. But the ultimate achievement is different. Unless it is attained, the living being, even though fully equipped, cannot be situated in the transcendentally normal stage. Srila Vyasadeva appeared to have lost the clue and therefore felt dissatisfaction. Very good.
Very good. So he's feeling incomplete. Something is missing. I myself fully equipped with everything. I have Vedas, everything. But still something is missing, which is creating a insatisfaction or dissatisfaction within his heart. Yeah. Prashant Prabhu, next verse. Kim
31, 31 Rohit.
31. Yeah.
Okay. तथा पिबत में दे
No, that is not one.
31.
Kimva Bhagavata Dharma. It's there on the screen also.
Yeah. किं वा भागवता धर्मा न प्रायेण निरूपितः प्रियः परमहंसानां त एव हात्य अतिप्रियः
Achyuta Priyaha.
अच्युतप्रियः.
Yeah.
This may be because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to perfect beings and to the infallible Lord. Purport. The dissatisfaction which was being felt by Srila Vyasadeva is expressed herein in his own words. This was felt for the normal condition of the living being in the devotional service of the Lord. Unless one is fixed in the normal condition of service, neither the Lord nor the living being can become fully satisfied. This defect was felt by him when Narada Muni, his spiritual master, reached him. It is described as follows.
Okay. So what is saying now? He is identifying himself. He is dissatisfied. Now he is trying to identify why is this I'm not satisfied. I've done so much work. Sometimes we also feel sometimes we do so many things, but still something must be missing. So here he has written so great Vedic knowledge, and he's split them, made it simplified, made it easy for Kali-yuga people. Still, he was dissatisfied. Now he finds that I'm not emphasized on devotional service, which is actually, perfect human being wants something similar to that. Writing about the Achyuta, infallible Lord. So I have not written anything on those areas. So that's what he feels is so dissatisfied. So what happens when complete dissatisfaction is happening? So who arrives that time? His spiritual master. The last two verses. We'll try to finish these two verses now. Narada now visits Vyasadev, 32 and 33. Ankit Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Tasyavam khilam atmanam manya manasya khidayatah krishnasya narado bhagata asramam prag udhartam. As mentioned before, Narada reached the cottage of Krishna Dwapanaya Vyasa on the banks of Saraswati just as Vyasadeva was regretting his defects. Purport. Although Vyasadeva was an empowered divinity, he still felt dissatisfaction because in none of his works were the transcendental activities of the Lord properly explained. The inspiration was infused by Sri Krishna directly in the heart of Vyasadeva, and thus he felt the vacuum as explained above.
Yeah. So Prabhupada also writes the vacuum by him is not due to lack of knowledge. Bhagavad Dharma is purely devotional service of the Lord. So he had the knowledge, but he has not put it forward in a concise, in a better form. That's what Vyasadev himself feels. So here Narada Muni comes to inspire his disciple. So Vyasadev is said to be Narada's disciple. Narada is the spiritual master of Vyasadev. So last verse. Retu Mata, do you want to read the last verse?
Tam abhijnana sahasha pratyuthaya gatam muniha pujayamasa avidavan naradam sura pujyatam. At the auspicious arrival of Sri Narada, Sri Vyasadeva got up respectfully and worshipped him, giving him veneration equal to that given to Brahmaji, the creator. Purport. Vidhi means Brahma, the first created living being. He is the original student as well as professor of Vedas. He learned it from Sri Krishna and taught Narada first. So Narada is second Acharya in the line of spiritual disciplic succession. He is the representative of Brahma and therefore is respected exactly like Brahma, the father of all Vidhis regulations. Similarly, all other successive disciples in the chain are also equally respected as the representatives of original spiritual master. Thus
Hare
end the
Krishna.
Bhakti Vedanta purport of first canto, fourth chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Appearance of Sri Narada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So here Narada Muni, who is the spiritual master of Vyasadev, arrives. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, he is the son of Brahma. So if you see in the paramparic system, from Krishna, our Brahma, Madhava, Gaudiya Sampradaya also, we talk about Krishna, Brahma, Narada, right? Then Vyasadev, like that it comes. So Prabhupada highlights on that. So Vidhi means Brahma, the first created living being. So he is the first student to be taught by the Vedas. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead taught Vedas to Brahma. It is said Brahma had 4 faces and the 4 Vedas came out. All the Vedas came out through his 4 mouths. He learnt it from Krishna and he taught first to Narada. So he is coming in the disciplining succession. So with this, we finish the 4th chapter of the first canto. We will start the 5th chapter. That is Narada is giving instruction to Vyasadev to compile Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the 5th chapter. So we will try to finish. We will just try to go a little more faster as we go along. All right. Any questions put on the chat? Anything related to today's class? We can have 1 or 2 discussions, reflections, couple of minutes, if it's okay.